Well, hi there! This is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated snakes on the planet. The black rat snake. This one's just a baby. And since next month is going to be Phylogeny February, and since our friend Isaac the Colubrid has asked me in the most friendly way possible more than 20 times to cover North American rat snake taxonomy, I thought I would start out with a quick overview of North American rat snake taxonomy, because it will show you how closely related this species, the black rat snake, is to the highest scoring reptile we have ever covered. And it will also introduce you to all of the other tremendously overlooked members of the genus, just in case you're looking for a pet that is as great as a corn snake, but not a corn snake for one reason or another. Now, the North American rat snakes are not closely related to the beautiful but notoriously cantankerous Asian rat snakes. They're not even all that closely related to snakes like the Yucatan rat snakes, North American green rat snakes, Trans-Pecos rat snakes, or the Baja California rat snakes. Turns out that probably the majority of snakes will gladly eat rats if given the opportunity, so calling snakes rat snakes is a bit like calling them slither snakes or short-tailed snakes. But there is a clade of snakes that are mostly all called rat snakes, all from North America, and they're all stinking rad. It includes, as I already mentioned, the highest scoring reptile we have ever covered on this channel. And the snake we're covering today, the massively underrated black rat snake, the genus Pantherophis, which, as I mentioned before, is not closely related to all of the other rat snakes. Their closest relatives are actually bull snakes, gopher snakes, and pine snakes, the genus Pantherophis, which we're going to be tearing apart here in a few minutes on Jason and Mike's channel Snake Envy. So hop over there if you want to see that next. We'll have a link down in the description. But the genus Pantherophis includes 9 species in 2 main lineages. One with 4 species and the other with 5. And I'll start with the lineage with 5 species, since it includes the highest scoring reptile we have ever scored. And I'll end with the smaller lineage, since it includes today's guest. The larger clade itself contains 2 clades. One of 2 species, the other of 3. I'll start with the bigger one for the same reason as before, because the species most distantly related to all of the others in this clade is the red rat snake, more often known as the corn snake, Pantherophis guttatus. Corn snakes are found in the southeastern United States and grow to be as big as about 6 feet long, though most are considerably smaller than that. I've never seen one that big. And they are the highest scoring reptile we have ever covered on this channel. Their closest relatives are the Great Plains rat snakes, or brown rat snakes, of the central United States, Pantherophis morii, and the Slowinski's corn snake of the south central United States, which is often considered to be a subspecies of the former, called Pantherophis morii slowinskii, though it is sometimes considered to be a separate species, Pantherophis slowinskii. So you might see either of those names for Slowinski's corn snakes, which are no more corn snakes than are their cousins, the Great Plains rat snakes. But they are all rat snakes. These are both just about the same size as corn snakes, just not as red. Of course, corn snakes come in a huge range of colors, but in the wild, corn snakes are generally more red, hence the name red rat snake. The closest relatives to these 3 are 2 snakes that I thought were probably part of Pantherophis the first time I saw one, which was also the moment that I fell totally in love with these snakes. The fox snakes. I really need a fox snake in my life. Pantherophis vulpinus, the eastern fox snake, and Pantherophis ramspati, the western fox snake. Unlike rat snakes, which these are, fox snakes do not eat their namesakes. They do eat rats, just not foxes. In fact, the name has nothing to do with actual foxes. The species name for the eastern fox snake is just a nerdy word game in honor of a guy whose last name was Fox. But they do have orange heads, which are so beautiful, and very high contrast brownish bodies with dark black saddles. They're so beautiful. They also get up to around 6 feet, and I've seen fox snakes around that size more than the 3 corn snake species that we referenced before. Fox snakes are found in the upper Midwest, not to be confused with the West, where I am. And the 2 species are separated by the Mississippi River. Try to guess which one is on the eastern side and which one is on the western side. And that brings us to the smaller clade and the topic of today's video. The smaller clade with the bigger snakes. I love colubrid snakes. My favorite snake species in the world is a colubrid snake. This one, the false water cobra. And this girl, Carol, she is massive. She's around 7.5 feet long. Remember that. Well, this smaller clade is itself divided into 2 clades, and both of them contain a snake commonly referred to as a black rat snake. One contains the eastern rat snake, Pantherophis alleghaniensis, often called the black rat snake, and the gray rat snake, Antherophis spiloides. Eastern rat snakes and gray rat snakes are slightly larger than corn snakes on average, and the record for a gray rat snake was over 8 feet. That's longer than my false water cobra, though female false waters occasionally get over 10 feet. Gray rat snakes from the eastern and central United States look very much like corn snakes, but more gray. Eastern rat snakes are found on the east coast, and they get to a similar size, though the record was about half a foot shorter than the longest gray rat snake. But they are super beautiful. Some are dark black, hence the fact that they are often called black rat snakes. But in the south, they are very often brightly colored, and are known as yellow rat snakes and Everglades rat snakes, which an Everglades rat snake was the first snake that ever bit me. But it was a delightful snake after that, and it didn't even break the skin. It was just being a baby snake. And that gets us to the final clade, which includes the Baird's rat snake, Pantherophis bairdi of Texas and Mexico, and the black rat snake, Pantherophis obsoletus of the central United States. Baird's rat snakes are often really pretty, ranging from gray to yellow, orange, even to red, and with a metallic sheen. Generally with 4 stripes running down the body. They're beautiful and notoriously docile and pleasant to handle. And as far as I can tell, about the size of a corn snake. But maybe even better. And that brings us to today's guest. Now I will tell you, I love black snakes. Now this one doesn't look all that black just yet. Not all of them get to be super black. So there's a lot of variation in this species. But also when they start out their lives, they're nowhere near as dark as they will become when they age. They go through an ontogenic color change as they get older. In addition to loving black snakes though, I also love giant colubrids. To my knowledge, a colubrid snake has never gotten too big. Retics are too big, but the biggest colubrids I know to exist, well, they're just perfection. This is why snakes like king rats, false water cobras, and indigo snakes have such a special place in my heart. Well, do you know what species of snake holds the record for the longest snake native to North America? I'll give you a hint. It's a colubrid, and it's black, and it's this one. The western or black rat snake, Pantherophis obsoletus. They're from mostly the central United States, though many western rat snakes are not black at all, such as like the Texas rat snake. They're the same species, but different colors. But the record individual was 8 feet 5 inches long. Now indigos probably get longer. Pituophis may rival them for size, but when it comes to what has been actually observed and recorded, this is the longest snake native to North America. Just a giant black corn snake. In a word, perfection. In multiple words, the perfect pet snake. And yet, who do you know that has one? Is the black rat snake actually a good pet? And is the black rat snake the best pet snake for you? To find out, our friend Jason Nelson of Envy Reptiles has brought his black rat snakes here so that we can give them a score based on our 5 categories, which are handleability, care, hardiness, availability, and upfront costs. When it comes to handleability, we gave the corn snake a score of 4 out of 5. It was the only place where they lost a point. Now that was more than 6 years ago, maybe I was a bit too harsh, but the biggest places where they fell short was that they are a little small for children, they're a little dartier than snakes like ball pythons, and they're a tad nippy as babies. Of course, a bite from a baby corn snake is like getting whipped with a wet cotton swab, but it's still not for everyone. I don't like getting bitten by things. And that last point is still likely true for black rat snakes. So baby black rat snakes may be a bit nervous, just like corn snakes. When you're a baby noodle with a head, the world is a very scary place. They even look a lot like corn snakes as babies. They don't turn black until they get a bit older. But when they get bigger, not only are they darker than corn snakes, they are bigger than corn snakes. In other words, not only were we maybe a bit hard on corn snakes, but these are slightly better to handle, and we're going to go ahead and give them a 5 for handleability. even if you're a little twitchy. Now, I don't know if any of you are time travelers, but if you hop down into the comments, even if this is the first day this video came out, you might notice that there are some comments from people from several days ago. And those people are all time travelers. They all went back in time. Either that or they support us on Patreon. And like all of our supporters on Patreon, they get access to all of our videos early. So even though you think you might be the one that's going to say first, they were all first. And if you would like to join the club and help us create amazing content like this, please consider supporting us on Patreon. When it comes to care, we give the black rat snake a score of 5 out of 5. It really doesn't get any easier than this. But to give you a really good idea what you're getting yourself into, I'm going to turn it over to Jason Nelson of NV Reptiles, who keeps and breeds these amazing and terribly underrated snakes.
Thank you, Clint. The care for these snakes is very easy. Feeding once a week, fresh water constantly. They live in the south and in the east and where it's damp, and so you want to have water at all times. Housing is really similar to corns and a lot of other colubrids. A snake this, a bigger adult, you probably want a 20-gallon long. They do like to climb, and they will, branches would be great. Hiding is, have a hide. They will want to hide. But they do climb, and they will search trees for birds and nest, and they're opportunistic, so they'll eat anything they can get to. But as far as care, just a mouse a week is plenty for an animal like this. And if you are keeping these in an aquarium and you have a screen top, make sure it's secure. These guys will pop a lid, they'll escape. They're like other colubrids, they're Houdinis, they'll get out of there. As far as substrate and stuff, I like to keep aspen just because they burrow under it, but your soils are fine. Carefresh, all that stuff is just fine for them. They're gonna thrive regardless. They're meant to thrive. And so as hatchlings, these guys can, like Clint said, they can be a little nippy, but they're gonna grow right out of that. You can see this guy, he's just as calm as can be. It's just like a corn snake, really. As far as temperament, they can be a handful if you get an aggressive one in the wild, but typically captive born. I would recommend captive born only. You don't need to be taking these snakes out of the wild anymore. And as adults, these snakes will need, a larger cage. But like I said, these snakes are opportunistic. And so if you could offer them a varied diet, if you have access to quail eggs, chicks, mice, rats, any of that stuff is great. I think if you mix it up, it's more beneficial to the snake to get a varied diet. Just house appropriately. And yes, you can add a hot spot to these guys, heat tape, or even a light if you want to. It doesn't need UV, but if you want a light for aesthetics and a sense of daytime so the animals knows what's going on, that's great. And so you could add some flora to it and pretty it up as much as you want. So these animals thrive in temperatures from 75 to 82. 75, 80 is really a good range for them, but they can go a little hotter, a little cooler. But 75 to 80 is a great temperature, especially have a hot, warm spot if it gets cooler, for sure, for digestive purposes and stuff. So this is a great animal, easy to handle. They come in lots of different colors. If you want a color morph, these aren't crazy like corn snakes, but there is a lot of color morphs in black rats too. So, and they're really affordable too. So check them out.
Thank you so much, Jason, and thank you for bringing these amazing snakes today. When it comes to hardiness, you aren't gonna find much hardier snakes anywhere in the world. These have a huge range because they can handle a lot of different conditions and thrive. As long as you're feeding them, providing proper temperatures and access to water, they're probably going to live well over a decade, perhaps more like 2. They get a 5. So far, this snake is getting a better score than the best scoring reptile of them all. That is, until we get to availability. It's hard to find one. Not impossible. NV Reptiles has them from time to time, captive bred. You usually can find one, but it probably won't be at your local pet shop or expo. It will need to be online. And keep in mind that there are 2 different black rat snakes. Many that you will find are hybrids, as some people don't know which is which. Not that it matters much, but if you want a specific non-hybrid black rat snake, you might need to look even harder still. We're going to go with a 3, but that might be generous depending on when and where you're looking. When it comes to upfront costs, we give the black rat snake a score of 5 out of 5. These aren't as cheap as corn snakes, but they aren't expensive. You might pay more for shipping than for the snake itself. The enclosure needs to be, well, larger than for a corn because they're bigger than corns, but there are plenty of good options available at not unreasonable prices. And after that, it's just heat, thermostat, substrate, water bowl, hides, and other enclosure furnishings. They will climb, so an enclosure that can hardly be too big or too tall. Just make sure they can't get out. And this is why, overall, we give the black rat snake a score of 4.6 out of 5. And that's a dang good score for a snake that's this hard to get. If these were as popular as corn snakes, it would get a perfect score. If what you want is a huge, black, easy-to-keep colubrid snake that won't break the bank or spray feces on a regular basis, then the black rat snake might be the perfect pet snake for you. And if you're interested in learning more about snake taxonomy after this, here's a full phylogeny of, well, all of them. All of the snakes, if you're into that kind of thing. As always, like and subscribe, and be sure to check out Snake Envy, and we hope to see you real soon.
Dude, you do realize he has like 500,000 subscribers. Do you realize how much juju is in this little studio?
Dude, my daughter needs this for her birthday.
Well, forget about your daughter. We need that in our studio. We need to take that juju home. Well, if we take the gecko, that's gotta help us. And he's all fixated on dinosaurs now. He won't nuts.
Hey, Snake Envy guys, what are you guys doing?
Oh, we're just admiring
This is
your.
cool.
This is really great. We're just admiring.
Admiring.
That's
I
all.
thought you were wanting to remove.
No.
Cool.
I thought you were Snake Envy, not Lizard Envy.
Clint, come on. We wouldn't do that to you.